Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit True Off My Chest and it's by user WholePomegranate5342. My parents tried to screw over my dying stepmother, blew up all of their lives instead. My 17 female stepmother Jane is a wonderful woman. She and my father got married when I was 4 and she's been a rock in my life ever since. My mother was always my primary caregiver, but up until that point, her relationship with my father was acrimonious and I basically never saw him. Jane was the reason they developed a stable co-parenting relationship. She encouraged everyone having a good relationship with each other and was always there to support me and my mom when things got rough. Jane was always a really hard worker. When she met my dad, he was living out of a hotel and my mother was doing everything in her power to keep me away from him because she was petty and angry and their relationship didn't work out. Meanwhile, Jane had a great job, a nice house, helped my dad get back on his feet, negotiated a visitation schedule with my mom, who hated her for a long time, and made sure my dad sent us money every week because neither one of them could afford an attorney to negotiate child support payments. Jane had no reason to do any of these things, but as I got older, she made it clear that she loved me as much as she loved my half-brothers, who were born a few years later. I even have my own room in her house because at the time we lived with my grandparents and various boyfriends of my mom and Jane felt I needed a more stable environment than that. She's like the opposite of the evil stepmom. When I was 15, Jane won a big lawsuit against an airline company and got awarded upwards of $1 million. She used the money to build sizable trust funds for me and my brothers so that we would be taken care of later in life. Despite having a lot more money, she still wanted to live a fairly modest life. So she paid off the house she has been living in ever since with my dad. Sure, she bought a new car and they went on a few nice vacations, but she didn't blow all her money on stupid things, which I respected. About a year ago, things started getting weird. Whenever I saw Jane, she seemed to look sicker and sicker, but no one would tell me or my brothers why, even though I know they knew. All we knew is that she was in the hospital a lot. Around the same time, my mom has been coming around my dad a lot more and acting really strange, basically like she was trying to romance him. Whenever Jane was in the hospital, my mother would insist on spending the night at their house and playing mom to my brothers, which was so weird to me because she never liked them or Jane. She'd be the perfect little housewife and my mom is not like that at all. It was super fake. Worst of all, my dad started falling for it. I'm not stupid, I'm pretty sure they were sleeping together. I tried to shield my brothers from it, but they're not dumb either. I tried talking to my dad, but he insisted it wasn't like that. Then, a few weeks ago, my mom started talking about all the places she'd like to visit, how she wanted a new car and was looking to invest. Which is weird because my mom has been a bartender her whole life and has lived paycheck to paycheck since before I was born. She was acting like she was about to get a lot of money, which started to make me really suspicious. Between Jane being sick and my mom acting all nouveau riche, I had a lot of questions. Finally, I decided to visit Jane in the hospital and ask her about my trust fund. I found out that if anything happened to her, my dad would inherit all the money, including full control of the trusts for me and my brothers. She asked me why I was so interested in the trust fund, so I told her what's going on with my parents and how my mom has been acting with my dad. I didn't want to, but after everything she did for me, she deserved the truth. It really hurt me to break her heart like that, especially once I found out that she was basically in hospice at this point because of irreversible kidney failure. She's only got a few more months. We both cried so much. Then 2 days ago, everything came to a head. My mom stormed in furious and started arguing with my dad. Apparently, Jane met with her lawyer and changed the trust so that my dad would get nothing and all of the trust would be controlled by my step-aunt. She demanded to know how Jane found out about their relationship, and I came out and told them that I told Jane everything. I told them that if they wanted to play stupid games, they would win stupid prizes, and that I wasn't going to let them screw Jane over after all the help she gave my family when she didn't have to. My mom slapped me, and my dad just looked defeated. Then my mom told my dad that she didn't really love him, that she was just pretending to, so he would marry her and she could get all of the money. The worst part about it is that my brothers witnessed the whole thing, and now on top of their mom dying, they have to deal with a cheating dad and his vindictive ex. Our whole family is in ruins, and I feel like it's my fault even though I know it's not. Yesterday, I visited Jane again and told her about the fallout. She apologized and said that she had to dissolve my trust fund to make sure my mother didn't get a hold of the money, but that as her oldest, I will inherit the house and property after she is gone, and that's worth more than the other two trust funds combined. My father won't get anything because she's going to divorce him before she dies, and honestly, I'm happy for her. She made me promise to take care of my brothers and told me that once I turn 18 this summer, I can kick my dad out of the house if I want to, and I fully plan to do that, by the way. I haven't talked to my dad since, and I can't even look at my mom. I can't believe they would conspire to do this to Jane after all this time. Just prove that they deserve each other, and I'm embarrassed that they are my parents. Once I turn 18, I'm going to cut my dad out as much as I can and cut my mom out completely. I hope she rots. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and be at the hospital as much as I can until Jane passes away. Anyways, I just needed to vent. I'm really messed up about the whole thing and I feel super betrayed. Although I can't even begin to imagine how Jane feels. I'm gonna be so effed up when she dies. I can't even think about that right now, but at least she's not surrounded by people who just want to bring her down. Thanks for reading. Wow, OP, your parents just suck at everything. Parents, human beings, you name it, they suck at it. It's a good thing that it isn't genetic and it didn't rub off on you. You did the right thing by telling Jane, and she's taking all the right steps to make sure your crappy parents get nothing. It's a good thing that you're gonna spend as much time with Jane as you can, and hopefully with your brothers as well. And I know you're not asking for advice or judgment, and you're just venting, so I'm gonna leave my commentary at that. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. Tizanis says, I'm so sorry you're going through such a hard time, OP. The most important thing you've inherited from Jane is a strong moral compass. You could have taken the easy road and ignored everything your mom and dad were doing, but your compassion to Jane is proof that you take after her the most. And OP responds, thanks a lot. Yeah, when my mom was yelling at me, she asked why I couldn't keep my mouth shut and mind my business, and I told her, because Jane raised me better than that, and that's when she slapped me. I feel like she's always been threatened by Jane, and that was just proof. Awaylink 8063 says, you poor thing. Take the time you have left with her and make sure your brothers do too. Grief is a powerful thing to go through and you'll all need each other. I'd go no contact with your bio mom and put in place a boundary that she's not to step foot near your home. What she did was downright cruel. If your dad didn't realize his mistake in that moment and still pines for the rhymes with which, then he's proven his worth. I'll leave you with this. The brightest stars burn the fastest, so we must love them while we can. And OP responds, thank you for your kind words. That's a beautiful quote. My brothers have a hard time visiting the hospital because they're young, and seeing their mom that sick is probably really traumatizing, especially now that they know she's not going to get better. As for my dad, I made it super clear to him that he's dead to me and that I don't want to have anything to do with a man who has one foot out the door before his wife is even dead and tries to steal from her to add insult to injury. I know a lot of men do that, but I never imagined my dad would let my mom talk him into that. As for my mom, at this point, I think she knows better than to come near me because I threatened to call the cops the next time she tries. And Angry Blood 3949 says, Jane raised you right. You showed incredible character and did the right thing. Your conscience is clear. I hope you and Jane can make more memories together in her last few months together and that she can be at peace. I'm sorry you're going through this. Heart. And Opie responds, thank you very much. It was really hard to tell her, but I think a part of her already knew. I'm planning on taking her out for a surprise end-of-life celebration with her family because they all live across the country and want to fly in to see her. Coordinating it will be hard, but I think I can do it. Opie's edit. Some people are asking a lot of the same stuff, so I'll just clarify here. My brothers. My plan is to use some of the estate money to fight for guardianship for my twin brothers so that they can live in the house while I kick my dad out. If I can't get guardianship, then I will have to let my dad stay in the house. However, once I turn 18, I will technically be an adult, so even if my dad leaves, I'm still legally able to be responsible for them. The only thing I won't be able to do is stop him from taking them if he leaves. But they will be 18 in 6 years, so even if they do have to leave, they will always be able to come back whenever they want. In a perfect world, my dad would just leave and let my brothers stay with me, which I'm sure my bio mom would be very supportive of because right now, she hates all of us and I doubt that will change anytime soon. The trust. From what I understand, my brothers will inherit 1/3 each of the estate and the remaining 1/3 will be used to keep the house running until they turn 18. After that, it will be up to me if I want to keep the house or sell it. At that point, my brothers will still have money left in the trust so they can branch out or do whatever they want. Otherwise, I will not sell the house and just pass it on to them or keep it and maintain it myself and they can just stay with me as long as they need to. Edit to edit. So I just spoke to Jane and she told me that the reason she dissolved the trust is because originally it was going to be split 3 times between us kids and my dad would inherit the house. She dissolved my third and switched it over to make it to take care of the house maintenance and instead put the house in my name so my dad wouldn't get it. Plus, by doing that, at least financially, I would be getting a much bigger share. The house is worth about 1.5 times the amount of my brother's trust. I just wouldn't be able to do anything with it until my brothers are 18, which I'm totally cool with. Sorry if I don't have a better answer, but I'm just trying to translate what she told me. My parents. The big fight happened on Sunday and I haven't spoken to either of my parents since. I think they're both at my mom's place right now, but that's fine with us because we're all still mad at them so they can stay gone for all we care. I know technically that's not legal to just leave us alone, but I've been taking care of my brothers for over a year. I can handle a few days while he gets his crap together. Screw both of them. Hope that clears some stuff up. Now, let's continue with the update to see what happened next and how this story ends. Hi guys, it's me again. A lot of you asked me for an update on my situation with Jane and my family, so I've come back with a few things that have happened since I initially posted. I will try to organize this in a way that addresses the major points of last time. Jane is still alive and doing surprisingly well considering the circumstances. She's always been a fighter and although her disease has been progressing, she's keeping a positive attitude with everything that's going on. She says she's grateful that she was able to see everyone's true colors before she passed so she could go into the next life knowing the truth. We have become so unbelievably close in the past few months and it's getting harder and harder to know that she's getting close to the end. She doesn't ever talk about it though, and I know it's because she doesn't want to hurt me, but we both know the situation, so we're just making the best of our time. I'm also not being completely transparent about all of the drama at home, but to be honest, I don't think she needs to hear all of that. We did end up having a surprise celebration of life that I planned. A lot more people showed up than I thought, but they all got an Airbnb near the hospital where Jane is, and we were able to take her out and spend some time at the lake near the facility. It was super low-key, which I know Jane preferred, and I was even able to get her old college friend to come after I found him on LinkedIn. Lol. We had food and there was music and we played games and it was overall a really great time. Except Jane started crying at the end, but she promised me it was because she was grateful. My brothers are also doing okay. My aunt, Jane's sister, is currently paying for them to go to therapy and they've become a lot more open about talking about the situation. They just turned 13, but a lot of the time it feels like I'm talking to actual adults, lol. They've become really independent lately, in a good way, and aside from me driving them places, I don't really have to do much for them anymore. Their grades aren't super great, but they're not failing, and considering the circumstances, it could be a lot worse. They still hang out with friends, and I'm keeping an eye out for depression symptoms and stuff. The situation with my mom is as funny as it is embarrassing, to be honest. She spent a few weeks ignoring us, and then she tried to crawl back into my life, basically begging me to let her move in because her lease is about to expire and she has nowhere to go. That conversation went about as well as you'd think, and she ended up calling me an ungrateful bitch, and that I couldn't just ignore her because she's my mom. I told her to get out of the house before I call the cops and to go back to my dad, who at that point was only coming home every few days to check on us and grab some clothes. After that, she tried coming by a few times, and when I wouldn't open the door, she would lose her mind and start yelling through the neighborhood. After 3 instances of this, I finally called the cops, but because I'm 17, they told me there's a possibility that I would have to go home with her since technically I'm a minor and need to be with the custodial parent. I told them no way because I was the only one watching my brothers at the moment. That led to a whole thing where after a few hours my dad basically showed up and I was allowed to stay there because there was finally an adult present and I'd basically lived there for over a year. After that, the cops firmly told my mom that if she keeps showing up and causing drama, my neighbors confirmed that she'd been there a few times screaming, that they would arrest her for trespassing since technically it was Jane's house and not hers. She left and hasn't tried coming to the house anymore, but for a while she would call me constantly, telling me I owed her and all kinds of stuff. She's now blocked on everything, and anything she needs to say to me gets filtered through my dad. As for my dad, well, since he's basically required to be here for another 2 months until I turn 18, we've basically just avoided each other. It's not too bad though because I've been heavily relying on guilting him for everything to get my way. For example, he was going to contest the divorce, but I threatened to kick him out when I turn 18 if he does that, so he just signed all the paperwork for a quickie divorce and is basically doing whatever Jane tells him to do. I don't openly disrespect him or anything, he's still my dad, but I've made it clear that I have no intentions on doing anything he says ever again, and he doesn't fight me on it. Most of the time, he's just in his room and sometimes he'll go back to my mom's, but only for a day or two before they argue and she kicks him out again, lol. I haven't decided whether or not I'll kick him out yet, and we haven't talked about it either, so I'm kind of playing it by ear. As for me, I'm handling everything as good as I can. I found a new job where I make a little more money, so I've been focusing on saving as much as I can and just being there for my brothers. Between working and school and visiting Jane, I've been so busy I haven't really had time to really stop and think about everything, but I know it'll come. One of my friends has really stepped up and helped me manage everything, and I'm super grateful to him for being there for me and my brothers, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, I wish I had something more exciting to share, but that's what happened since my last post. Smiley face. Thanks again for all the support on my last post. Well, OP, considering everything that you, Jane, and your brothers have gone through, I'll definitely call this a positive update. The party you threw for Jane sounds lovely and very heartfelt. I'm happy you were there for her to give her that. And considering the parents that you have, I'm happy that you had Jane in your life to give you the right example. So on that note, here's wishing the best for all of you. Thank you for sharing, OP, and take care. And now let's finish this video with a quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Nighthawk82. Legal tender. When I worked at a gas station in the late 1900s during graveyard, I had this guy come in and bought a candy bar with a $100 bill. Really? You don't have anything smaller? I'm just trying to break the 100. Don't be a jerk. Fine, just this once. Few days later, guy comes back in, grabs a candy bar, and I see he has other bills in his wallet. Puts the 100 on the table. Sir, I told you last time it was going to be just the once. I see you have a $5 bill. This is legal tender. You have to take it. Okay. I reach under the counter and pull out 2 boxes of pennies, 50 cents to a roll, $25 to a box, 17 pounds each. Here is 50. Do you want the rest in nickels? What is this? It's legal tender. I can choose to give you your change however I see fit. So, do you still want to break the 100 or the 5? I'm calling your manager. She gets in at 8 a.m., sir, but doesn't take any calls until 10. OP, I'm not going to say anything except chef's kiss. That was magnificent. Thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.